Hi, welcome to Captain's Quarters Podcast in St. Augustine, Florida. And I do have to make sure that I apologize to Davey. Last week I said I was 65 years old, and he corrected me, and I said I was going to throw him overboard. And then I said it was the 149th episode, 148th episode, and he corrected me again. And I went back and looked, and yes, it was 149th. And tonight is our 150th episode, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! Now you know why the rum is always gone. So, our biggest sponsor, our main sponsor, is St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum in downtown St. Augustine, the oldest city in the nation. We want you to go there and have a good time. If you go there on the weekends, you might find me doing tours there. And those tours usually are a lot of fun. How do you find us? Go to YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that QR code. Do the like, follow, and notify. I always tell everybody the like is the most important for me because I like it when people like me. But you have to do the others so that you'll get the notifications for our Captain's Quarters podcast live every Monday night in St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in the nation. Very good. Now, we always kick off our show with a little bit of history, but it's modern day history, sponsored by 8 Bells, sponsored by Riker's family of reenactors. It is called 8 Bells, and it is a reverent honor to any of the deaths that have happened over the last week since last show. Davey, how many do we have?
We have 6 regular ones, and then one of our good
one of friends. Our very own. All right, very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with 8 Bells, sponsored by the Riker family of reenactors. Maria Grañas Morora, I can't even get that one, a Catalan supercentenarian who, until her death at the age of 168 days, was the world's oldest verified living person, following the death of Lucille Random on 17 January 2023. Roger Cook, an American garden and landscape contractor on the PBS home renovation program, This Old House, from 88 until 2022. He also appeared on the associated programs Ask This Old House and Inside This Old House. I see a theme there, old houses. He was 70 years old. Lieutenant General Arthur J. Gregg, an American military officer who was on July 1st, 1977, became the first African-American in the U.S. Army to reach the rank of Lieutenant General. Previously, he was the first African-American Brigadier General in the U.S. Army Quartermaster Corps on October 1st, 1972. He served in the U.S. Army for over 30 years, with his final assignment as the Army's Deputy Chief of Staff Logistics, and retired on July 24th, 1981. He was 96 years old. Nick James Maletti, an American author, lawyer, businessman, sports entrepreneur, and sports franchise owner who was, during the 1970s, the owner of the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cleveland Crusaders, and the Cleveland Arena, the Coliseum at Richfield, and radio station. W3WE, WWE, AM 1100, now WTAM. He was 93 years old, and he had his hand in everything. Sidney Raymond Udy, an American professional wrestler. He was best known for his tenures in the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, now known as the WWE, and World Championship Wrestling, WCW, under the ring names Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, and Sid Psycho. He made an appearance in the 2000 film Ready to Rumble alongside David Arquette and Scott Kane. In 2011, he starred alongside fellow wrestlers Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash in the horror movie River of Darkness. He was 63 years old. Alex Yedius, an American hot rodder, racing driver, and land speed racer, active in the early days of auto racing. He served in World War II as a radio operator engineer on a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. He was the founder of the Alex Yedius and Pete Chaperuis Center for the Automotive Arts of the Pomona Fairplex, which offers a 2-year program in the automotive arts. He was 102 years old. And this next one, ladies and gentlemen, is a friend of the Captain's Quarters podcast, a good friend of mine personally, a good friend of the St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum, Captain Carl Fismer. Most everyone knew him as Fizz. With over 30 years of treasure search and salvage experience, Captain Carl is one of the most respected and knowledgeable diving professionals in the world. His specialty is shipwrecks, especially Spanish shipwrecks. During his career, he has worked over 300 shipwrecks in the United States, the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Indian Ocean, Central and South America. He has recovered millions of dollars in Spanish gold, silver, and jewels and other artifacts. Fizz, as he is known to his friends, directed part of the salvage diving of the Santa Margarita, sister ship of the Nuestra Senora de Atocha, which was discovered by Mel Fisher. Then in 1986, he led an expedition to the Silver Shoals in the Dominican Republic, and there located the famed galleon, the Concepcion, which sank during a hurricane in 1641. In 92, he traveled to Sri Lanka and dived with Sir Arthur C. Clarke of 2001: A Space Odyssey fame in association with the Great Bases Reef Treasures. I knew him. He was a hoot. And still to this day, he would drink rum with like the best of them. I have several of his books in my own personal collection, and we have his books in the Pirate and Treasure Museum. If you're interested in the works and the life of Captain Carl Fismer, we have it for you. Come down and see us. He was a great man, and he will be sorely missed by his friends in the treasure world and many of the pirate crews around the state of Florida that became friends with him. He was indeed a very special man, and he will be missed. Upon that note, ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to give honor to those that have passed, to their fans, their families, and to them themselves, we give you 8 bells. All right, let's bring it into a little bit more jovial note. Is Minnie Mayhem standing in the wings?
He is.
Very good. It's Joke of the Week, ladies and gentlemen, with Minnie Mayhem, sponsored by Salt City Comics. Come on, Minnie, give us your next one. What is it?
Ahoy, mates! Minnie Mayhem here with Joke of the Week, sponsored by Salt City Comics. Where can you find an ocean with no water? Think about it, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the show.
We'll do a reveal of that joke with Minnie Mayhem towards the very end of the show. I'm curious now, where do you find an ocean with no water? I have some ideas, but let's not blow it just yet. Quote of the week, ladies and gentlemen, Spyglass Travel. If you want a great walking tour of the oldest city in the nation, call my friends up down at Spyglass Travel. Kevin and Angie Rose run Spyglass Travel, and not only will you get a great tour walking around the city of St. Augustine, think of the cardio you get, because their tours are a little over an hour long. So watch them. Oh, just lost my flamingo. Call them up, Spyglass Travel. Go ahead, Davey. What's our quote this week? A positive attitude may not solve all your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worth the effort. Oh, I like that one, Davey. That's a really good one. A positive attitude may not solve all your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worth the effort. Good one, Davey. Herm Albright. As always, you do a good job. Now, we've stepped into National Day of. There are 5 National Day ofs, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it or not, today happens to be National Day of National Women's Equity Day. Every year on August 26th, we commemorate this right with National Women's Equity Day. The United States Congress passed the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, granting women full and equal voting rights on this day in 1920. Also, day of National Web Mistress Day. Now, Davey said he'd never heard of that. I'd never heard of it, but it's not what you might think. Web mistress, believe it or not, is a term used to recognize women who work and or own web development companies, and they are all female owned. So they've been given the title of web mistress, and there you have it. And it is National Cherry Popsicle Day. Each summer on the 26th of August, popsicle lovers across the United States enjoy celebrating National Cherry Popsicle Day. We're going to have to try some of those, Davey, but I think we need to add a little rum. Aye. National Got Checked Day. Ladies and gentlemen, this goes along with breast awareness or breast cancer awareness. National Check Day on August 26th creates a call to action, providing a friendly reminder and asking the simple question, got checked? Be inspired when you answer yes. And the last one, National Dog Day, ladies and gentlemen. And look, there's old Max in there, National Dog Day, and it encourages dog ownership of all breeds, which while seeking a new companion, be sure to consider the mutts, mixes, purebreds, and everything in between. And I made sure I put another one in here. This is my Max with his response to many of your Facebook posts. That's it right there. He just rolls his eyes. And there you go. And of course, he makes a good Christmas dog too. How about that? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are your 5 days, which also brings us to the question of the week, sponsored by Ancient City Sirens. Miss Gina and her girls do a great job providing dance for all the events that we have in the future and have done in the past. You name it, she can do everything. And the question of the week is, what is your favorite dog breed? Well, most of you know mine is Basset Hound, but I do have a soft spot in my heart because I love golden retrievers also. So during the show, if you have a favorite, let us know what it is. We'll try to throw it up there and talk about it. Davey, we've reached This Week in Nautical History, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Well, that's sponsored by Florida Water Tours. If you want a good view of the city from Matanzas Bay, call up Florida Water Tours. I need to call them this week because I'd like to work on a Talk Like a Pirate Day cruise, which is a Thursday night. I was working on something else, but it seems it's fallen through. So maybe we can just do a cruise and get anybody that wants to be a pirate to go out on the water for that night. So, Davey, give us This Week in Nautical.
Welcome to This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by our friends at Florida Water Tours. Experience the Intercoastal Waterway at its finest, featuring picture-perfect attractions. We begin this year in nautical history in the year 1609. English explorer Henry Hudson is the first European to sail into Delaware Bay, names it South Bay. 1682. William Penn leaves England to sail to the New World. 1746. Dutch VOC ship Hofwegen struck by lightning and explodes off the coast of Batavia with 6 tons of silver aboard. 1782. British man-o-war HMS Royal George capsized at Spithead off Hampshire, England. More than 800 crew and visitors killed. 1791. HMS Pandora sank after running aground on a reef the previous day on her return from her search for the bounty and the mutineers who had taken her. 1861. American Civil War. Battle of Fort Hatteras, North Carolina. First combined operation of Union Army and Navy results in Union domination of strategically important North Carolina sounds. 1914. World War I. Battle of Helgoland Bight. British fleet decisively beats Germans. Nearly 800 die and over 200 wounded. 1916. Transport ship Sinew and cruiser Haiyong collide. 1,000 die. 1941. World War II. British Royal Navy captures German U-boat U-570 on its maiden voyage. It is reflagged as HMS Graf and used by the British for nearly 2 years. And finally, in 1966, British sailor Francis Chister begins the first solo sail around the world, leaving Plymouth aboard the Gypsy Moth. The fourth completes May 1967. And that was This Week in Nautical History.
Now. because we use the word assassination. Hello again, back there, and as you can see, I've got somebody in the wings with me here. This is Director. I'm going to get the name right too. This is Director Scott Beaver of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department. Welcome to the
privilege for us to be able to share this time with you.
Sheriff Hardwick was supposed to be here, but because of things that are going on in the county, he's a very busy man, and he did give us a heads up that he was not able to come, but wanted to know if he could send a replacement or a stand-in. So you are his stand-in.
Yeah, I will not be as good as him.
Oh,
he's famous in his own mind.
Well, that's true too. So we have two other things we want to do before we go into our segment with our guest, and that is the T-shirt poster, Davey. If you want to get a T-shirt for our crew, our podcast, there's all the information. Now, I will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, we've been trying to run this all summer, and it has taught us a lesson. It has not been as popular as I would have liked it to have been, even with us putting in some of the money to the Humane Society. So this was supposed to be the last week. There are only a few people that bought T-shirts, so I want to give you a video promise that I'm going to do something to take care of that. But if you would like your money back, just let me know. This has caused us, though, to look at one of those companies online where you can give them all your logos, and then you just go to those websites and buy whatever it is you want, T-shirts, cups, baseball hats, whatever. They do all the work, and then they give us a percentage back. We don't have to do anything. And it is the way of many of the podcasts. And in fact, a lot of celebrities and a lot of bands do it also. So we're looking at doing it that way from now on. Those of you that supported this deal, I appreciate it very much. If you would like to do something else, please send me a private message, and we will honor your involvement in this for now. Thank you very much. The next one is Spooktacular. As you know, our Spooktacular takes up the entire Colonial Quarter, and we make a family-friendly Halloween haunt with 8 to 10 scenes, and we need a few more sponsors. The sponsorship to be a scene sponsor is $200 per scene if you'd like to be a part of it. And we put your logo in the scene. We put your logo at the entrance hello and the entrance thank you banners that we create. Plus, we give you some tickets to give away to kids in your neighborhood or how you want to do it. Is the Sheriff's Department going to do a Halloween venture this year?
Yes, we will.
All right. So last year, the Sheriff and I talked about it, but I want to really get on the ball with it this time. I'd like to do a cross promotion that wouldn't cost you guys money, wouldn't cost us money. Basically, if anybody comes to your event, then comes to our event and shows us some proof, we give them a half price ticket, and vice versa.
Yeah, we'd love to work with it. We've already started our.
Yeah, we've already started building everything here, and then we have only about 6 days to put it all up.
Wow.
Yeah, because we can't interrupt all the business of the Colonial Quarter. So we had we do it 3 hours a night on that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before Thanksgiving, before Halloween, and in that 9 hours we had over 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, we were very pleased.
Well, ours was super successful last year, and I may or may not have been one of the characters out front, so I won't give away who I was, but it might have been a clown.
Might have been a clown.
Yeah.
Clowns are scary.
Yeah.
So remind me, what does the money go for your event?
So it comes to our special events fund, and we use that for all kinds of things to help support the deputies that may need something in the agency. Buying equipment for like our K9 unit, a vest for the K9s, or special equipment for our team. So we use it for a lot of stuff that we can't buy with the taxpayers' budget money.
Right.
We're very, very, very cautious and frugal with our taxpayer-based money. We want to make sure it's spent the right way. And this is just a way to supplement buying things that we need in the agency.
See, the money we raise goes to Alias Acres. You're familiar with them? They're a no-kill animal zone.
Yes.
And Inc. invested in kids.
Yes, we love Inc.
And we work with them. So we give them, and what we do is we do this event, we do a couple of events, and we take the money because we advertise we're giving it to them, but we take the money and put it in the bank, and then around Christmas time, especially Inc., that we invite them to a party and we would give them a check. And I think last year we gave Alias Acres and Inc. $2,500 checks.
Wow, that's awesome.
Each. But the reason we do it that way with Inc., they have a whole lot of things going on right now to help at the beginning of the school year.
Yes.
But they need help during the school year.
Always.
And so that's why we hold off and give that to them at that point in time. We also provide pirates for their 5K jailbreak, which the sheriff's department gets involved in too.
Yes, we do.
So it's always nice to work with other members of the community and other groups of the community for all of these community involvement things. So the other one that we want to pop up there, if any of you are needing information on this, if you haven't heard about the Anastasia State Park, where they want to put a 350 room lodge, pickleball, disc golf on Anastasia State Park area. And from the maps, it looks like it's right there, almost next door to the Hilton Embassy Suites down there. So it's going to ruin some more of the view of our lovely ocean and our state park. So it caught the town, including the city and county commissioners, completely off guard. Apparently, they weren't even aware of it. And there was a protest, a very peaceful protest. Obviously, the sheriff's department was there and they didn't have to deal with anything. So, but over 1,000 people protested at the entrance to Anastasia State Park yesterday. So there is a Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, that you can go on and keep track of what's going on. We highly here at Captain's Quarters Podcast really support not ruining Anastasia State Park or any state park in the state of Florida for that matter, but this one's hit very, very close to home. So if you're in the mood to want to fight somebody over something that you do not believe in, there's your information right there. And join. I'm a part of it. I know many of my pirates are part of it. And it's very important for us to use our voice and stand up for things we do not believe is proper. And this is one of them. So there's the information for you. Upon that note, Davey, thank you very much for putting that up there. I did see a couple of quick questions or quick answers here I wanted to go through real fast because they made me laugh. Jim, retired deputy sheriff right here, he says his wife would not allow him to have a wet mistress.
I know Jim.
You know Jim.
Yeah, I do.
That's Jim right there. So Nightingale in Florida says, no wonder her cats are all upset and in bad mood because it's National Dog Day. And my son is Will the historian. He's a history teacher in Alabama. So we've got people watching us in Michigan right now. We have people watching us in Alabama. We have people watching us in Panama City. We may have somebody watching us from Quebec, Canada also. So my son, he had a golden retriever when he was a little boy. The dog's name was Skeeter. I remember him also. So let's see. 2 Shih Tzus years ago. If I got another dog, it would be a Shih Tzu. Nightingale in Florida is one of our crew members, and she's a nurse. That's why she's Nightingale. So very good. I just wanted to pop in with a couple of those. I may pop up and see a couple of others in just a few minutes. But for now, up Captain Smooth. There he is, all the way from Quebec, Canada. Captain Smooth. So we have a world.
Wow.
We're watched all over the world. We're actually also part of the, what's it called, Davey? International Pirate Community, right?
Yes.
IPC, International Pirate Community. We're part of that. So we get around.
Yeah.
We get around. So he's got the St. Johns County Sheriff's.org running along the bottom. So if anybody needs information other than what we talked about tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me get these glasses out of here. I'll probably need them in a few minutes. But the main topic of conversation, since school just started last week, is school safety and school zones. And so here's the first thing I want to say. Pay attention to the signs and quit whizzing through school zones. I've already seen a few people doing that. Yeah, I know. The summertime, we kind of forget. And the first day or two, we forget. Oh, because I'll admit, caught myself doing it once. So, but let's talk about school safety.
Yeah. Well,
so
first,
you give the first.
Yeah. So first, thank you for allowing us, and congratulations on 150 shows.
Well, thank you very much.
We talked a little bit before, and a lot goes into this, and we appreciate everything that you do, and thank you for supporting us at the sheriff's office and being a good community partner. You know, school just started a couple weeks ago, and the first couple weeks, without saying, it's chaotic.
It is.
We have a lot of new people coming into whatever school, the first year parents, and then, you know, you have the second, third, fourth year parents that kind of have a routine down. They have no issues with that. But the first year parents, it takes a couple, a week or two to get into it. In the first week, everybody wants to drop their son or daughter off to school, and I get it. I did it too. And So it'll take us another week, and we'll probably have things kind of settled down in the school zones. We'll build a pattern, and we'll get people in and out a lot quicker. So we just ask you to be patient. When you come into a school zone, just expect a 3-5 minute delay. Other than that, we'll get it down and we'll get you moving as quick as possible.
So the school crossing guards is controlled by the school district or controlled by St. Johns County?
So we have the school crossing guards, and they work in our youth services division under Captain Peggy Tennyson. And I'm gonna tell you, our school crossing guards are nothing short of amazing. Those men and women are out there. If it's raining, if it's cold, if it's hot, the weather doesn't matter, just to make sure that our precious children get across that road safely. And they really enjoy their jobs. They put a lot in it. We pay them as good, as much as we possibly can. And we try and give them a couple little benefits here and there. School crossing guard of the year, we recognize every year. But I tell you, the relationships that those men and women make with those children,
and you keep
amazing.
So speaking of relationships, that brings up a question. You keep the same guards at the same schools year round?
We try to keep them there, yes, all year round, unless something happens. Somebody's out sick or they
Right.
take a vacation.
Right.
We have a stand-in, so to speak. And those kids and those parents get used to that one person. They start to build that relationship, that trust, and it works well.
Well, that's a very important aspect of safety. Is what's the word I want to use? Everything falls into a routine.
Yes.
And when it comes to watching the children in the schools, so if you see something unusual that's not there a week or 2 or 3, hopefully you're paying attention to it, and hopefully you'll say something. So what kind of training do the school crossing guards have to go through?
So we have an in-house training, and there's certain things by the state of Florida that they have to be able to do, with the signs and when to let the kids cross, when not to let the kids cross, the timing of everything. So it's an in-house training. They start about a week before school.
Do they have to have any medical training or first aid training?
I don't know if they have any of that in the training or not, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
But most of those, when you're been around for a minute or two, most of those people are very well versed.
Well, most of them are probably, and I could be wrong because this is an assumption, but I know a few of them, so I know that the answer for them is that. Some of them are retired
Yes.
Police officers, sheriff's deputies, some of them are retired military.
Yes, they are. And they just want to continue to be a part of something.
Yes.
They want to come out. They have the weirdest hours. You get work a couple hours in the morning, you go home and you work a couple hours in the afternoon. But yeah, there is some pretty intense training, and but they all handle it well. You got to remember right now we're at almost 56,000 kids in St. Johns County School.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We have 44 schools in our county and 2 charter schools. So that's a lot of lot of kids, a lot of responsibility, not only for us, but you got to remember the St. Johns County School District, they have over 7,000 employees. So, each one of those schools is its own little city.
It is. And now I heard on the radio the other day when I was riding along, because I listened to 104.5, which is a major news station. Duval County changed their bus system program. It used to be if you lived within a mile, you had to bring your kid to school. A mile or outside, you got the bus. They've extended it to 2 miles. Did they do that here in St. Johns?
No, we have the similar requirements, but if you live within a certain distance, you have to take your kids. And you will see in some neighborhoods like the new school, oh my goodness, I just had it. But one of the new schools, Trout Creek. You have an option. You can go to 2 different schools in that area. So some kids that live in the back of the subdivision go to the school in the front of the subdivision. So the buses come through there with the parents dropping off at the new school. So it created a little bit of a issue for us, but I think as we move forward, we'll get that pattern worked out. But yeah, if you live within a certain distance, then you can't ride the bus. You have to walk.
Gone are the days when I was going to elementary school in the 60s. We walked or
Yeah.
rode our bicycles. Mom and Dad didn't take us to school.
Yeah, I rode my bike and walked a lot of times, but then the buses came in to play. Yep. So absolutely.
So how many school crossing guards do we have that are part of the county?
Well, so we're in the 70s with school crossing guards, and we hit all the schools, and some of the school crossing guards actually have more than one school that they'll go to. and work
because of the way the timing is.
because of the way of the timing. And we also have what we call our public service assistants, our PSAs.
PSAs.
Yeah, so we have them throughout the school zones, and they work a little over 30 positions, and they'll go and help get the parents in and out, the school buses in and out of the schools. And, you know, without those PSAs standing in the road, we got to just safety wise, just pay attention to those young men and women that are in the road trying to get our people, because distractions, the cell phones, and, you know, whatever else is going on inside the car nowadays, they have a very important job too. And, you know, we put them out there for convenience versus to get the parents in and out, because you got to get to work. You want to drop your kids off, and we try and get the school buses in and out because they have multiple routes. So trying to get the buses in and out quicker and get the parents in and out quicker, it's a big task.
So basically, with the numbers you've just told me, you've got right around 100 dedicated people to the school safety zones, or school walk zones, school zones.
Yeah, and that's outside of the schools.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when we talk about our deputy sheriffs inside the school, that's another 63. So we have a deputy sheriff in every one of our schools. You know, the rank structure from captain, the lieutenants, the sergeants, and we have what we call floaters, that if, you know, somebody gets called away from a school or makes an arrest, we have to have somebody in that school. We cannot leave that school unmanned.
Now, so you can correct me on this one because I'm going to be foggy on it, but didn't our present governor really push to do law enforcement officers in all the schools statewide?
Yeah.
And is this part of that program?
Well, they wanted a law enforcement officer, what we call the Guardian program. So it's basically an armed security guard that's in the schools. Yeah, that has to be at every school. Now in St. Johns County, we're so fortunate. We have one of the best relationships with Superintendent Tim Forson and his staff. Paul Abitinoza, I work very closely with Paul. Him and I are attached at the hip. We talk a lot. We have a contract where we have a deputy sheriff in every school. And the floaters that I talked about, if they're not actively doing something, we want them at our high schools as well. So we try and have 2 at every high school if it's at all possible. So we're fortunate in St. Johns County.
So is it paid for by taxes?
Yeah, so we have a basically, make it simple, 70-30 contract. So the school board pays 70% of the contract. We pay 30% because they're in school 180 days. So it's simple math. 180 days of their school, you know, goes to the school. So we 70%, 30%, we pick up to 30%.
And basically all of it comes from the citizens of the county.
It
taxes
does.
to those 2 different directions. So the citizens are paying for it.
100% tax
But
base.
the school board and the sheriff's department have to be very mindful of how they spend their money.
100%. And we're very, very cautious of how every dollar is spent in the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, just like Superintendent Forson and his crew. It's and there's checks and balances in there to make sure that the deputies are there when they're supposed to be, you know, and we're providing the service that we want, you know, that they pay us to provide. And here's something that people don't realize, that most of the deputies that work in our schools have kids in their schools. So we all have a vested interest,
Right.
and we take it personal. Those are our children. And, you know, you don't mess with anybody's kids, and we make sure that we protect those kids at all costs.
And we've been lucky in this county. We've not had at least a major public incident. There may have been some small stuff that the sheriff's department may know about, and they're not going to put out on the. And I've often said, and I've said it with other friends of mine who are reenactors and tour guides, because everybody knows that my main contract is with the Pirate Treasure Museum. In fact,
Yes.
I start 15 years here, so. And this being the oldest city in the nation, it's just surprising that we haven't had to deal with anything yet.
Well,
And
knock on wood, you're 100% correct. You know, under Sheriff Hardwick's leadership, we instituted something new last year. We put 2 what we call threat assessment deputies on. One takes care of the north end and one takes care of the south end of the county. And those 2 deputy sheriff's job is all they do is look at any kind of threat assessment, any threat that comes in, no matter how small or how big that
so
threat
how are they
is.
doing it? Through social media?
Yeah.
Through
Yeah, so there's you know, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, in that horrific event where 17 people died and 17 kids were injured. Out of all tragedies, something positive. We try and get something positive out of that. And with that, there's certain things that were put in place. And under Pam Bondi, when she was deal here. They created something called Fortify Florida, and it's a free app. We have to teach every kid and every student every year how to maneuver that app and how they can report something. It's an anonymous way to report anything that happens. If you hear a rumor or you heard somebody was going to come to school tomorrow and do something bad, you get on that app and it notifies the people in my chain of command. It notifies the school, and we immediately go to work on finding out if that threat is credible or not. So it's immediate. That's one of the ways. We have Crime Stoppers. It's 1-800 Crime Stoppers. You can send something that way. You can call our non-emergency number, 904-824-8304, and report. You can always call 911. And then you can always email the school, or you can email the sheriff's office.
I've said it on this show before because we've talked about safety and other avenues, but having a background in military security and then taking care of a casino for a long time for security, I always used to tell people, if you see something and it doesn't look right, say something.
Right.
Even if it's nothing at all, if 3 days down the road you hear something happened and what you saw was probably something you could have said to stop it, you'll kick yourself harder by not saying anything than you will by maybe thinking you're going to be embarrassed. Yeah. And I know that because I had a personal issue that I needed to get taken care of, and I called Sheriff Hardwick direct, and he moved me to the right deputies, and they took care of it. I was a bit embarrassed to ask him, but I really needed to get this taken care of. And he jumped right in, and so did the other deputies. I was pleased with the response. I was pleased with the help, and I was also pleased with the fact that I was a terribly worrisome grandfather, but they didn't treat me that way.
Nope.
And everybody that's listening and anybody that catches this show down the road, they should understand that if you see something, no matter how small and minuscule it is, I'm bad about seeing somebody driving down the road and it looks like he's drunk, I'll call.
You call us.
If he's not drunk, he can at least explain himself to the deputy why he can't stay on the roadway.
And listen, that's what we're here for. We are here to investigate all of those things that people are uncomfortable with. And we want people to be comfortable. And that's, speaking of comfort, that's why we put these deputies in these schools. We handpick deputies. We work with the school system to put the right fit in the right school. And the principal, the assistant principals, the staff have to have a relationship with that deputy. And
the students too.
And the students. That was the most important. We have deputies that get invited to birthday parties on the weekends, and they bring these deputies gifts all throughout the year, and they build this special bond, and it's amazing. Back in the day when Jimmy was around, you'll remember, Officer Friendly, people went to the YRDs when they were closer to retiring, and it was an easier gig, no shift work. And you got to go to school and build relationships. That's a thing in the past now. It's a serious. We go through a lot of training, do a lot of things to make sure our deputies are qualified and ready. And before I forget, go on Facebook, our St. Johns County Facebook, and you'll see a little link on there. It says Meet Your Deputy. So anybody can go. If the parents are not sure who the deputy is, we have a picture and it tells what school. It gives a little bio about
that's
them.
Interesting and good information.
Yeah. So you go on there, and that way the parents, it's important that our parents, reach out to our deputies and build a relationship with them and make sure that the kids feel safe coming to them. Like you said, Deputy Beaver, this is no, it's not small. It's important to you. It's important to us, and we will look into that. But those threat assessment deputies last year prevented what we could have been a school shooting here in St. Johns County at one of our local high schools. The people, the kids involved in that had the plans, they had the maps, they had everything going in the right direction. We got a tip from a kid that thought that this was not right and reported it. And that investigation, our threat assessment deputies jumped on it with our major crimes unit, our intelligence unit, and we were able to save a huge incident from happening here in St. Johns County.
Wow.
And it's because our students trust our deputies and they have that relationship, and that you can't say enough about that relationship.
So when I was growing up as a little boy, I'm from St. Augustine, but my father, he just joined the Air Force, and his first real assignment after he did all his training, we ended up moving
He's my stepfather, so people might get confused. But we ended up living in Abilene, Texas.
Mhm.
We lived off base because my stepfather married my mom with me and a little brother and a little sister. And our next door neighbor was a dog cop. He was a canine cop. There was nothing but, and we played with that dog. In the yard, that dog was a dog. As soon as he put his uniform on, that dog wasn't a dog anymore. But it was that neighborhood learning respect for the men in uniform. And we're lucky here. I don't see a huge disrespect for our uniformed officers, beach police or city police or the sheriff's department. I may be missing something, but I don't see a huge disrespect for our men in uniform and women in uniform.
Yeah.
But there are places across the country that it's terrible. It really is. And this program that you're doing in the schools really helps fortify and build that respect that young children, as they grow older, will still have respect for the uniform.
You just said the word fortify. And if you go back, Pam Bondi and her staff worked with the students at Marjorie Stone Douglas to name this app, to pick the logo for the app. And they picked Fortify because of what you just said. It reinforces, it builds strength, and it brings things together. So that was a big part of that Fortify for Florida thing. You mentioned canine. So this year, Sheriff Hardwick has put two dogs in our schools. Those dogs will be narcotics trained, and they can smell gunmetal. They'll be able to detect
Really? Gunmetal now?
Yes. So
Wow.
those dogs one of them has passed all the training. We had a little hiccup with anybody that knows how hard it is to train a dog. She was training well. Some stuff happened and we had to wash her out, but we have another one that's working with Deputy Wright now. Brian Wright, amazing young man that was at Bartram Trail, chose a dog. And that's going to be a great addition to the schools. But not only the dogs going to schools for those two reasons, but it's also a way for the kids. Everybody loves a dog. We have therapy dogs at the sheriff's office we bring around, and when a dog comes in, it just changes your whole atmosphere. It breaks it starts a little conversation piece. So it's a great addition to our staff for the schools, and I think it'll serve us well.
So the sheriff has a horse program too, right?
We did have a horse program, but we did have to get rid of it. It was it was a little more than we had anticipated, but we wanted it more for the therapy of those horses,
right.
Take it around. We had them, and actually we gave those horses to our brothers and sisters in Putnam County. Sheriff Gator Deloach and his staff took them, and they are utilizing them well, which it helps them a little more. They're a little more rural than us,
right.
And they're using them. And so yeah, we didn't go exactly the way we wanted. So we had some issues with some of the riders and stuff. We had a military guy that got deployed, and it was just one thing after another. So it wasn't that we didn't love the program and we had it up and running.
It just didn't fit with
it
what,
just
what
didn't
we
fit.
needed.
And sometimes you got to say, okay, we tried it, and let's move on to something else that we can.
So when you go and do some of these events, like Ancient City Kids Day is coming up, because I'm always there, and there's a couple of other Kids Day events. Night out on the beach. I can't think of all the appropriate names for all of them. When your sheriff deputies, and I know the sheriff himself goes to some of these, do you have families and children that come up to you and just want to talk to you because they know who you are and they know what you do?
I started at the sheriff's office in March of 1994. So I've been here 30 years at the same agency. So I'm from St. Augustine, grown up, been here my whole life. So I'm watched our little town go from, just like you have, little town to big town. But yes, you build these relationships over the years, and these families, and they come up to you and with our equipment and our dogs, and just they want to know, what is that for? What's this for? And those little things start the conversation with these little folks, and those conversations that start at that young age turns into lifelong relationships, and the respect for law enforcement, and not being afraid to come ask us for help or to say something to us.
It also builds you up another generation of young people, both young boys and young girls, that it may spark the interest that they want to become law enforcement officers.
Absolutely.
Because you have a cadet program.
Yeah, we have an Explorer program, and we've had that for years. It's very successful. We have a lot of young men and women in that we have several today that I can think of, two right off the top of my head, that are started in Explorer programs, and they're both lieutenants with the sheriff's office today.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they not to throw any limelight away from the sheriff's department, but the fire department has a cadet program now too. And
Very successful. They just had 3 of their young men and women that they recognized in front of the county commission a couple weeks ago. Very successful program. Chief Stephanie Whaley is doing a phenomenal
Yep.
job over there, and with Chief McGee.
she sat here and talked about her program, and we've
Yes.
used some of those cadets for security on on some of our outdoor events. Plus, also they've come in and been. I'm old. Many of my pirates are old. It's great to have some of these young kids help us move some of the stuff around. So,
Yeah.
tell us something else about the school safety program that you think is important for everybody.
Yeah, well, I will tell you. So our YRDs, our youth resource deputies, they go through a lot of training. There's certain things that the state requires them to have: mental health training, our active shooter training, the mental health, so they can recognize and help these young men and women. But they also, we put them through several classes. So they teach age appropriate classes throughout the school. We have a new thing it's called LEADS. It's law enforcement. It deals with the drugs. It's kind of like the old stranger danger class that we had. Yeah, and they're teaching these kids, so they get involved with the kids and teach them all the safety classes, just like when we were growing up. And every year at the beginning of the school year, they have to sit down with the whole faculty, students and staff, and teach them certain things about safety and how to act and what to do if, God forbid, something happens. So they're prepared as they can possibly be to take care of those kids, and the kids know what to do. And once again, it's age appropriate. So we don't talk about things that the first graders and second graders and third graders really won't understand. But as you go up, you change the content of that class to make them understand and try. It's serious, and a significant event like that could happen. So we want them to be as prepared as possible, especially our teachers and the staff of those schools. So it's something that we take very seriously. A lot of training goes into it. They put a lot of time into that.
Well, it's important because the children are future resources, and that's very important.
Yep, absolutely. And
Take care of.
our kid, yeah, and listen, that's our future.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, a lot of people are like, man, I'm worried about our future. But if you go to St. Johns County and you go to any of these events and you deal with our kids, I feel pretty good about where our future is and how smart and on top of things these young men and women are in our schools.
So we don't have a juvenile detention center in this county now, do we?
Yes, we do. We have the one in Hastings. We have
okay.
Yeah, so they're still in Hastings, and there's one behind the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office that we still deal with our young people that are in trouble, and they get schools and they have programs inside this. But the Sheriff's Office, we're not done. That's ran by the state programs.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so we don't really get involved unless we get called there to take care of something.
It's disappointing when you see some of these young people step way far over the line.
Yes,
and you wonder, but it's programs like this that help some of these children understand the respect and being a part of a community. I still always advocate it takes a village.
Oh, it does. And you're 100% correct. And, some of the classes that we talk about teaching, and as we get into the older kids, we try and stay in the elementary schools and build that relationship. As they grow older, that relationships get stronger between the deputy and the student. So hopefully in high school, they haven't got too smart. Most high school kids are smarter than their parents, and obviously smarter than any cops or any of us. But we teach them about vaping. How dangerous is vaping? And vaping has become a serious issue across, the United States, everywhere. So vaping is something we teach them about, all the dangers of vaping. Our teen driving. We just this year, believe it or not, because Sheriff Hardwick was one of his big deals was he wanted a teen drive in St. Johns County. We serviced over 200 kids during the summer. We have some set up for the spring, the Thanksgiving break, and the Christmas break.
Were you teaching them proper driving techniques?
Yeah, we bring them out to our driving track at our training facility out at 16 and 95.
Yeah.
We have our own driving range, and our YRDs, our youth resource deputies, teach the class. It's an 8-hour day. They teach them everything they need to know. Well, not everything. a good basic,
Right.
for the driving, and very successful. A lot of great feedback. And that's available. You can get on our website and see if that's something you'd be interested in putting your child through and sign them up. And that was one of the biggest things we did. I'm just trying, there's so much stuff. I have so many notes here.
That's fine.
Prom safety. We teach them about prom safety. People think, well, prom safety, what is all that about? Well, what happens on prom night?
Yep.
A lot of drinking and driving. We do not want to lose any of our kids through any drunk driving and crashes. Cybersecurity. There's kids these days on this
And cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying. We have something we teach about cyberbullying, and that's a big deal, and it's scary. And some of our kids are very tough on those things, and it gets them sometimes.
So what's your opinion? Maybe I shouldn't ask it that way because that puts you in a bad position.
No, that's okay.
So the governor is attempting to limit cell phone usage of the children in schools by grades and ages. You think that's a good idea?
Well, I think it has its pros and cons. Some of those things, and school districts are implementing more of their own rules for that.
Right.
And
Have we started anything in this?
yeah, there's some stuff going on in our county. I don't want to give any specifics because I don't know all the specifics. Thank God our youth resource deputies do. But yeah, and the reason some parents want their children to have the phones, if something happens,
True.
they can notify
and
the
you
kids.
can't argue that one.
Yeah, well, through all this, there was Alyssa's law that came out of the Marjory-Stone-Douglas, which means there has to be a silent way to notify law enforcement. And inside of our schools, the school district has implemented something that's called Centegics. It's a little card that every teacher, every employee wears, and they can hit 911. It's done by pushing their card. So many times means so many things. And once you push that, it gives their GPS location, where they're at in the school, what school they're calling from. It automatically notifies our 911 center, and we immediately dispatch deputies.
So you know exactly where in the school they are when they
Exactly where they are. It's basically a GPS. Yeah, and that's something that the school board implemented. We work with them on that, but that's a very expensive program to put in place, but it's a very necessary program. We're ahead of the curve on safety.
Well, I think the pro of the kids being allowed to have their cell phones, and of course it depends on the age, but I think if they're allowed to, but you're teaching them the responsibility of it,
Yes.
then it serves a purpose. But I see it being a problem also because you do have some teenagers especially that are going to be belligerent and say, well, you can't do that, you can't do that. And I'm forever having conversations with people who, we try not to be really political here, but a huge portion of our population do not understand what free speech really means.
No,
They also don't understand what a public is a public piece of property, but it's privately owned.
right.
And the owners can tell you, we don't want you here and you can't do anything about it. People don't understand those little nuances.
And we get caught in that trick bag all the time about, well, how can you trespass me? It's a public place, and it's a business, it's a grocery store, it's a restaurant. Well, these people own that, and they have the right to say, you can't shop here, or you can't eat here.
I was a security boss for a major casino out in Vegas for about 7 years. And we constantly, there'd be people that would break the rules of the casino. Well, you can't throw me out. This is a public place. I can because, see, it's open to the public, but the stockbrokers and the shareholders and the big bosses, they make the rules and I enforce them. I'm their police force. So you've broken the rules. They don't want you here.
Yeah.
And in the state of Nevada, trespass, I don't know if it's changed now, but a trespass in the state of Nevada is good for 6 months. And if you come back in 6 months, you're going to get arrested. And with facial recognition and all the casinos, they know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, that facial recognition. Some people don't realize we can trespass you from a school.
Yeah.
And it's the school board's property, and we have trespassed numerous parents from that. However, if you have a child in that school, you have a right to go to that school. So you would have to call the principal and set up, some kind of arrangements to come in for a parent-teacher conference or.
But basically, everything in this part of our conversation, basically everything here is that there is a humongous amount of responsibility that everybody must take for all of their actions that they do.
100%.
And these having the deputies in the schools and doing the programs and everything else really teaches children responsibilities and ideas of living with everybody else. And everybody says the golden rule, but it's much more than that.
It is. School, we see people are homeschooled, and I'm all for homeschool if that's what you want to do. But I think there's so much more. Public schools sometimes can be a horrible place on certain things, on certain kids. The bullying is a big deal. And that's one of our biggest things that we teach. We have a 0 tolerance for bullying. The school district will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate it. We will handle it immediately. But, building those life skills and those communications and just being to interact with people your own age and stuff, that is a huge life lesson that you learn. And I think it's a valuable lesson that you get to interact with people your own age.
So we do, in the Pirate Museum, we do hundreds of tours a month, school tours, because you're from Florida, so you understand that all the fourth grade classes from every school in the come to you. So we have all those, but we end up with since COVID, we've ended up with fifth graders, we've ended up with sixth graders because they didn't get to have their tours. So, and then we do high school groups too. And I have found out that we do a lot of homeschool groups, and there are some very significant differences in a school group over a homeschool group and vice versa. Yeah. There are a lot of differences in both, and probably just as many positives in one over the other as there is negatives in one over the other. So it's an interesting dynamic now.
It is, and it's not, we're younger, there was really not a lot of homeschool going on, but since COVID and stuff, there's just life itself and the parents, the situation, there's a need for some people to be homeschooled, and I support the homeschooling, but man, I just lost my whole train of thought. You're on the show 150 times. Do you ever just
Yes.
All happens all the time?
One of the worst ones. Sometimes it's worse, and Davey will make sure everybody knows. Davey, put that "Why is the rum" logo up there. If I make a mistake, he'll pop this up there for everybody to see. Yeah. And unless they've gone to sleep, there it is right there. Now you know why the rum is going. It happens constantly. It happens. So we have I was going to use the word huge, but I shouldn't use that word because I don't know if we have this problem anymore. But we do have a problem with homeless children in this county.
Yes, we have more than you would ever imagine. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's in the hundreds. Yeah. We have schools that provide clothes and other materials. Webster's one of our places that you can go pick up stuff if for homeless, and they have an outreach program there. But we do have a big homeless problem in St. Johns County with our students, and it tears at your heartstrings to see our young people like that. But I will tell you, St. Johns County, we're so fortunate. Our school district is so wonderful of how they take care of the kids, and our community steps up. And I believe we live in a bubble in St. Johns County. You mentioned it earlier. The way the city fire department, the county fire department, the Beach PD, the St. Augustine PD, and us, we are all locked horns with, and we work so well together. We provide the service.
There's total
100%.
What's the word? Agency communications. Yes. Totally.
Yes. When something happens in St. Johns County, we don't care if you're city fire, county fire, city cop. We are coming to provide the service that our citizens and visitors of this county expect and deserve. And we all borders are down. There's no walls. There's nothing. We provide and we protect and serve our citizens in this county, and they expect that, and they deserve that.
So let's go back to school zones.
Yeah.
Because people forget those signs are up there, even with the flashing lights on there. So the question I want to ask on this one is this: are your PSAs and or your crossing guards, if they're obviously they're not going to be able to run somebody down and give them a ticket.
Yeah.
But can they take a license tag number and call it in?
Yeah.
And they're a viable witness to somebody being stupid?
Well, they can be a witness, but in order for us to issue a ticket, you have to be a certified law enforcement officer. So if you're a cop standing working the zone, you can say, "Hey, Scott, the blue car that just went by was whatever, and we can pull that car over based on what you observed as a certified. We can
Right.
issue a ticket. But actually, they can say, hey, this car, we can pull over and say, hey, we got a complaint that you were driving a little fast. You may have did something, and have a little talk with them. Say, just be cognizant of what you're doing in that school zone. Just today I was answering an email about their technology is where they have the red light cameras. Well, there's technology now where you can put in the school zones that automatically catch you for speeding. And I don't think that we're ready for that in St. Johns County.
No, and
And
somewhere
so-
down south, they were
Yeah.
using that technology, but it was causing a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it
I'm
had
a
not
big
been
fan.
smoothed out yet.
I'm not a big fan.
I doing comedy clubs and stuff, I used to have a line that because I got one once, a picture of me speeding through a red light. And the line was that I just sent him a picture of the money that I was going to send
Yeah,
him. So-
100%.
So
Yeah.
it's we become a camera oriented, and everybody's got one in their hand, and that's good and bad, but it's more good than it is bad.
Yeah.
And we use body cams in this
Yes.
county now,
Yeah.
and our school officers also wear them?
Yes, our school resource deputies have a body camera on. They don't walk around the school with it on continuously. If something happens where they have to take law enforcement action, they'll turn it on. And we were kind of concerned about that because we didn't want our students to not come talk to our deputies.
Well, there's still,
because of it.
with children under a certain age, there's still a privacy issue that you, a privacy protection issue with
Yeah,
children.
there's some of that gets involved in that kind of stuff. But we can have them on, and there comes some rules with the juveniles under a certain age, but it really doesn't affect our body camera stuff so much. But they are on, and they do capture while they're in a fight happens. They click their body camera on, and they will go handle that situation. And they've come in handy. I mean, these body cameras, some people love them, some people don't. I will tell you that they have helped and protected our deputies on some complaints that
Oh, if
made up
you
and
get
stuff.
on YouTube and watch, there's several channels that they have access, the companies, and they put these
Yeah.
20-minute clips of people just being complete idiots. And Ray Charles could see that they're guilty, and Ray Charles is dead and blind. So,
Yeah,
it's just, the body cams, I think, in that aspect for protection of our law enforcement officers is extremely important. And even in the high schools, you have smart aleck high school kids.
Oh gosh, we do. But I think overall, if I could sum all this up for our students and our parents in St. Johns County, we are really doing a phenomenal job with our training and our technology. We have our license plate readers that are strategically placed throughout this county to help protect them. God forbid if something happens in one of our schools, we have that technology in place. Our intelligence center, our real-time intelligence center, we have the ability, when they push that button, they get involved immediately. There's some programs going on where we can actually see cameras inside schools now. And if God forbid, if there's somebody in there, there's some technology out there where they can open and lock doors and stuff with, lock certain doors and unlock certain doors to kind of guide and maneuver somebody into a way we want them to go to be run right into one of us. And
Yeah,
we
that's
can
what we hope.
eliminate the threat if we have to do so.
So here's
a lot
another
of technology.
question, and it's going to be kind of a two-part question. Does the sheriff's department still do ride-alongs for people?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Which I thought I knew the answer, but it in my head it gave me a second question. Do you do walk-alongs to the schools with the parents?
No, that would be more of a school district thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you have to be screened. You got to go through background
Right,
checks
right.
and all kinds of stuff just to even go into the schools.
Well, I know that
volunteers.
because when we
Yeah.
go and do entertainment,
Yeah,
book readings and pirate stuff with the schools, the state has a law. I don't remember what that law is called, Karen's law or something like that, where you have to get a
you have
background
to.
check.
Yeah, you have to
fingerprints,
do all that.
and all that other stuff. So, so we go through that, and and it's really strict over at the deaf and blind school.
Yes.
Really strict.
And I forgot about our brothers and sisters at FSDB, but we do training with them as well. Active shooter training, and we help them. And we've been there when false alarms has happened. All the agencies, they don't care. We're going to help whatever school, FWC, and everybody's coming to whatever. So we work with them a lot too as well.
Well, I think that the sheriff's department, representation of the sheriff's department over the last several years, because of the leadership of the sheriff's department, has been a huge, very community aware kind of a thing, where the general population is very aware of the St. John's Sheriff's Department. I believe that. I believe that through conversations I've had. I believe it through conversations I've had with other deputies. It's kind of hard for me to, being what I am, it's kind of hard to go around too many places without some of them knowing who I am anyway. And I've had sheriff's deputies want to take a picture with me so that they can show their kids.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm Captain Mayhem. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why I like having Sheriff Hardwick on and you now, and the invitation is open. And I always do this to make sure it's a public invitation. But any project you're working on, any new project, old project, a project where you want to try to get more of the word out to everybody, all you guys got to do is call us and say, hey, you got a free Monday night, we'd like to come on the show again. Totally open. We look for that a lot. We want people to come to the show and do that, because you've seen the show so far. We do a lot of history.
Yes.
But we want to do a lot of community interaction and community involvement. We don't want to necessarily be a news program. I don't want to compete with my good friends Pete Melfi and
Oh,
Davey
we
Hartzell.
love Pete.
I don't want to
We
compete
love
with them.
Pete,
They do their thing. I do
Yeah.
my thing. And in fact, I'm still trying to get them to come on the show with me.
Yeah.
I've been on their show. They got to return the favor now. But their show is completely different from my show, and our show is not just St. Johns County. We, as you see, we've got Quebec, Canada. We got Michigan and Alabama. We got people from all over the world watching us. But if we can tell people about our little community here by utilizing the sheriff and the fire department and the police department, and everybody else, they actually can see what this is. And it's one of the reasons why at the beginning and the end of every show, we always say, from the nation's oldest city. That's becoming our tagline now. It's very important to let people know.
It's a beautiful place.
And it is. So you're born and raised here.
Yep. Just been here my whole entire life.
Where'd you go to high school?
The high school, St. Augustine.
St. Augustine High.
Yeah. So when and I pick on the sheriff all the time because he went to St. Joe.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, they built Nice and some of our folks wound up going to Nice and graduated from Nice. And Nice was I think it was 83 or 84. Nice was built, maybe 82. But
so if we had lived here instead of traveling Texas, Arkansas, Arizona, and then back to Florida as an Air Force dependent brat, we'd have lived right out here off of Moultrie Creek. The old Shriners,
right, yeah,
the Shriners place.
Brainerd Road.
Yeah, that was our grandfather's fish restaurant, the Barnes family fish restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
So we'd have grown up here, which meant I probably would have gone to St. Augustine High, but I ended up graduating high school over in Panama City, Florida.
Yeah.
So, and then I joined the military and went away.
Thank you for your service.
Well, it's more of a thank you because you're doing the work now for sure. But we like to make this show well-rounded, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have so many segments, is to give a little bit of something to everybody. But the guest is always the main thing. And Sheriff Hardwick is really he's a great guest. And he's a good boss, right?
Yeah.
I've just in case he's watching, right?
Yeah, or he gets it later. But, I've known the sheriff for over 30 years. We're in the military together. Now I have the honor of serving with him as he's the sheriff. And you talk about, he is 100% oriented to our kids. He's coached football for 25 plus years, and anything that you say kids, he's all in.
Well, he's extremely community oriented and community minded, extremely.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things I like about him. I'm one of the only one in the crew who has lived here my whole life. She's part of my pirate crew.
Oh, God.
And that's actually Davey's wife.
Okay.
So she went to school here. She grew up here. She grew up her whole life here. I think I have a couple of others. Nightingale in Florida, I think, grew up here also. So we have several of my pirate crew. We have about 50 of the pirate crew, the swashbucklers, and several of them are locals that have been here for all this time. It is a great city, but there's been some changes.
Big changes.
I mean, I love to tell everybody, I remember when you could drive down St. George Street.
Yes.
And
when I was in the high school, so you went to an elementary school. I went to Evelyn Hamlin, and where the the 40 Orange Street was the 5th grade center. That was, you went to 5th grade there, then you went to Webster for 6th grade and Murray for 7th, and and then 8, 9, and or 9, 10, 11, 12 is that St. Augustine High. So we didn't have all of these schools. Now we're 44 schools now in St.
Wow.
Johns County, and all the high schools and the charter schools.
I have a picture of my real father. He died here in St. Augustine when I was almost 3 years old. And I have a picture of him in the 4th grade, and that class that he was in is in that big school building right there on Orange Street. The
Yeah.
school. That's where they went to school.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of changes here. A lot of them positive. There's
Yes.
some that are argumentatively aggravating.
Yeah.
The growth of this county is frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for the sheriff department, but the growth of this county is frustrating because we don't have the roadway infrastructure to handle all this that's going on.
And I'll share the biggest complaint that we get at St. Johns County Sheriff's Office is traffic.
Yeah.
And there is no way that, and I fortunately or unfortunately have the traffic unit in my division, and we deal with the traffic all the time. If I could make, asphalt and paved roads, I put us 2 or 3 more lanes, but in just a couple of weeks we'd be full again.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
and it's so hard to, and I get it. People are frustrated. Heck, I get aggravated trying to go from this end of town to the sheriff's office takes you 25, 30 minutes.
Do you
sometimes.
live on this end of town?
I live off out toward the river.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean-
14 area.
When I go to work for the Pirate Museum, I'm leaving here. I'm right here on US 1 at Watson Road, and it's 8.5 miles to the parking garage.
Yeah.
Which can be a 35 to 40 minute ride,
Depending on the time.
depending
You're
on the
absolutely
timing of
right.
the lights and everything. So,
And I have blue lights tomorrow. I can flip them on. Sometimes that's
and then
even
somebody's
worse.
going to call you in
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, that's even worse sometimes. But I will tell you, our community is so, they embrace law enforcement in this community. Our men and women are in restaurants now, and more times than not, somebody tries to pay for those deputy sheriff's meals, and it's just humbling and it's emotional sometimes that the support that we get, not only in St. Johns County, but our governor does a great job pushing law enforcement. But our people, I'm gonna praise our people in St. Johns County. We are very thankful to be able to police this community and get the support that we get from this community. It's overwhelming sometimes. And do we get it wrong sometimes? 100% we get it wrong.
You're human, right?
Yeah, we get it wrong. And if we get it wrong, we try and fix that. We're not going to make excuses. We're going to take care of that problem. And we hold our people accountable. We're one of the few professions that, we arrest our own, and we've done it in the past. And if it comes to that, we'll do it again. But I just want to say thank you to the community for allowing us to serve this community. It's an honor and a pleasure. And, I've been here for 30 years at this agency, and I've seen a lot of different things happen, and it's just humbling.
So the rank is rightly deserved then.
Depends on who you ask. A wise man told me one time, he said, son, I'm ready for you to be this rank, and you're ready to be this rank, but there's some people that are not ready for you to be this rank.
That goes in just about any profession,
Yes.
I think. It
Yes,
really does.
it
really
does.
Well, I want you to sit with us. We got a little bit more of the show. It actually, this point in time gives us a chance to take a quick breather. Davey, are you ready for This Week in History?
Yep.
Sponsored by our good friends at Dick's Wings, which I know some of the sheriff deputies on this end of town spend a lot of time in Dick's
Yes.
Wings. And that guy down there, he's a good friend of ours, and he's a sponsor of our show. You want a good lunch? Go to Dick's Wings. They got a burger lunch. They got a hot dog lunch. They got lunches starting at $8.99. That's a pretty good deal in St. Johns County. So go and have lunch there. And they also have a couple of my favorite runs. Although I was in there the other night and they didn't have it. So now I got to have a conversation. But on that note, This Week in History, Davey.
Welcome to This Week in History, sponsored by our good friends at Dick's Wings Bar and Grill. Wings, salads, wraps, quesadillas, and more. No matter what your taste buds crave, they've got you covered. We begin this week in history in the year 1833. Britain's first Factory Act becomes law to regulate the labor of children and young persons in the mills and factories of the United Kingdom. 1854. Major outbreak of cholera occurs in Soho, London. Physician John Snow goes on to call it the most terrible outbreak of cholera which ever occurred in this kingdom. 1862. Second Battle of Bull Run, fought at Manassas, Virginia, begins. Confederate victory, U.S. Civil War. Also in 1862, U.S. Department of Treasury forms division now known as the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing to print newly issued paper currency. 1873. First free kindergarten in the U.S. started by Susan Blow in Carondelet, a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. 1890. President Benjamin Harrison signed the first U.S. law requiring inspection of meat products. 1897. The Boston subway opens, becoming the first underground rapid transit system in North America. 1907. Harry Houdini escapes from chains underwater in 57 seconds at Aquatic Park in San Francisco, California. 1925. After a night on the town, Babe Ruth shows up late for batting practice. Miller Huggins suspends Ruth and he slaps a $5,000 fine on him. 1939. World War II starts when Germany invades Poland by attacking the free city of Danzig. 1955. Guinness Book of World Records first published. 1957. U.S. Democratic Senator Strom Thurmond begins the longest U.S. filibuster of 24 hours, 18 minutes against the Civil Rights Act. 1963. Martin Luther King Jr. delivers his I Have a Dream speech addressing the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom Civil Rights March at Lincoln Memorial, Washington, D.C. 1964. LBJ nominated at Democratic Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Also, in 1964, Walt Disney's musical film Mary Poppins, directed by Robert Stevenson, starring Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke, with songs by Richard and Robert Sherman, premieres at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, California. Wins 5 Academy Awards. And finally, in the year 2005, Hurricane Katrina makes second and third landfall as a Category 3 hurricane, devastating much of the U.S. Gulf Coast from Louisiana to Florida Panhandle, kills more than 1,836, causes over $115 billion in damages. And that was This Week in History.
You can see that I'm here all alone now. Our guest just got a text as we went into This Week in History and had to rush out and take care of it. It is one of the problems we have if we bring the sheriff department or the fire department in. If something happens, we take that second fiddle. But that's okay. So I was looking at some of the other notes, and it's now from the captain's desk. So I have something I want to bring up to everybody and share. And I hope please take this as advice and tips, not as law. But I give an acting seminar, and although I haven't done one since 2024, at least a reminder on professionalism seems to be needed as of late. In the city of St. Augustine, there are many reenactment groups, there are pirate groups, and there are tour groups, and respect between all of them is very important and sometimes much needed. So here's 3 tips for you. If a reenactment group is doing Drake's Raid or Cyril's Raid or any other historical event, then pirates should respect the space of these city-sanctioned events, and unless invited and or you have the proper kit, meaning clothing, then dress civilian and support the event. Do not try to invade the event and create animosity where none is needed. We are pirates, most of us are pirates of the golden age of piracy, and it doesn't fit with most of the other historical reenactments that are here. Also, tour groups do not always want or need you ingratiating yourself into their tour. Just because you think everyone loves pirates does not mean you can freely step into a tour already in progress. That tour is the workspace of that tour guide, and you are a distraction and not a positive one at that. The distraction away from the tour guide's monologue can be detrimental to the guide's tips at the end of their tour. You could be causing such a distraction that it ruins the tour. Unless invited, walk on by and don't distract from the tour guide's work. But if invited, be professional, say hello, let the tour guide continue with their job as you take the high professional road and walk away. Also, many pirate crews do privately booked events for clients and or for their charities. Some of these events may be in a public area, but unless you were invited or hired as part of the event, then you may not always be welcome, and both the client and or the pirate crew responsible for the entertainment of that event have the right to request you to leave. Honor that, be professional, and just leave, or try to fit in. It becomes, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, an insurance liability problem. And most of the people that dress in garb in any way, shape, or form may not understand that. But if a client is running an event, they've had to pay insurance for liability. If they've hired a pirate crew and or a group to be the entertainment, they fall under their insurance. But if you just show up and start doing things, you are now a liability because you're not on the insurance, which means that if you cause a problem, somebody is going to be financially hurt. Hopefully it's you for not being professional. Final word. If you put yourself in one of the suggested rules above and are asked to leave or move on, don't go to Facebook or other media and badmouth the event, the clients, the charities, the reenactment groups, tour guides or tour companies, or the pirate crews. That just further makes you look bad and guilty. And yes, this happened recently. I don't want to get into that part, but I do want to explain something to everybody. Places like the Pirate Museum or the Colonial Quarter or Ann O'Malley's or any other locations downtown that are restaurants or bars, yes, they're open to the public, but they are also private property. And the owners, the managers, the shareholders, and the stockholders, they have the right to make the rules, and you must abide by them. It doesn't mean that because it's open to the public, you can go in and do whatever you want. There are rules, and you must abide by them. And if you don't and are asked to leave, it's not their fault. They're not the bad guy. They're protecting themselves. And if you don't understand in this day and age that a good lawyer can take everything away from everybody, and it just becomes a fight with lawyers arguing over everything, then you don't understand the liability part. Be professional. If you show up at an event, walk over to the pirate captain of that group or the leader of the reenactment group and say, hey, is it all right if I'm here? If they tell you no, shake their hand and walk away. If they tell you yes, because you're in the proper gear, you're not the center of attention. It's their event. Don't try to be the center of attention. Just blend in. That's the problem. People don't understand blending. I truly, when I walk down the street and see a tour up in front of me as I'm walking down St. George Street, I will either walk as far over to the other side of the street as I can or take a side street so I do not have to interact with them. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't want to be disrespectful to the tour guide. We have reenactment events that happen on St. George, on the grounds of the Colonial Quarter. I will go over and say hello to the reenactors that are there. In many cases, I may leave some of my accoutrements in the Pirate Museum. But it's just a matter of being professional and respectful. These are not laws. You don't have to abide by them. These are tips that I have published every year for the last 18 years. I believe that we all can do things in the oldest city in the nation if we respect each other's space. And just because you're dressed as one character over another does not mean that you are the most important. I do not consider myself to be the most important, but I do consider myself to want to work with others, and we're always open to allow other pirates to come be a part of our event, but only if they want to blend in and help with the purpose of the event, which almost every time is charity, not self. And that's from the captain's desk right there. All right. Oh. Guest on deck. Let me see. Let me put that one away. Something just popped on my screen. All right. Do we have guests on deck?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. What do Ladies and gentlemen, next week's going to be a really grand show on Monday night. I have John Stavely, Chad Light, and Leon Sesla. They will all be here talking about the oldest city in the nation, because 7 days after that, the 8th of September, is the 459th birthday of St. Augustine, the oldest city in the nation. So we are going to talk about St. Augustine for the entire show, other than our normal segments that everybody loves. If you want to be on the show, we'd love you to volunteer. Tell me what you got. Tell me what you have. We are always looking for guests to be on the show, and I'm now spending this week and the next week trying to come up with a spot for every one of the guests that we'd like to have between now and January. So if I've got a few extra spots open, let's get them over to you and be a part of our show. As I've always said, we need more guests to have more fun. So let's see. Davey, have I missed anything today?
Yeah, we should also explain what we are going to be, whose show we're going to be on Thursday.
Oh, is it this Thursday night?
Yes, it is.
A good thing you reminded me. So we are going to be. Do you have a picture or a flyer or anything?
Parlay 8.
Okay.
I don't know if Parlay 8 runs live, do they?
What's
I
that?
thought Parlay 8's just going to record you, then they'll put it out. So I'm not sure they run live. That's why you probably don't have a flyer.
I think they run live on Thursday night.
It is live.
Is
It is live.
I know they do a
So
lot of
this Thursday night. What time is that going to be? Is that at 8 o'clock also, like us? I don't remember. We'll have to look. David, you were going to come over here and sit here with me while we did it, right?
Yeah, so just like when we had them on last week, they were together.
Right. So we're going to be on the show Parlay 8 on Thursday night. It has become a great thing that we've done over the last 2 years now, where we're on their show, they're on our show. It is a way for us to help each other promote our shows. So that'll be this Thursday night. Good thing I didn't have any other plans. I'd have been really embarrassed. Let's see. I see my son is on. I see Nightingale is on. I see Donna is on. Captain Smoo was on. I don't know if he's still on or not. I can't tell if people are still on. Joke of the week reveal.
Yes.
Go ahead with Guinea Mayhem.
Okay, it's time for the answer to the joke of the week. Where can you find an ocean with no water? The answer is on a pirate map.
Oh. Is Mandy the treasure? Because she was in the middle of the map.
She's the cartographer, but yes.
Oh, I see. All right.
Oh,
All right.
no, I was wrong. September 5th, I'm sorry, at 8 p.m.
So it's next week.
And we will advertise for it, but might as well get it out now.
Yeah. So it's next week, not this week. All right. Good. I see Paul is on. I see Cara Creamer, Miss Cece, my better half is on. We had a whole weekend out on St. Augustine Beach, and we're still tired. Thank yous. It's time for our thank yous. I don't think we've missed anything. So September 8th, and we'll be Parlay 8. Next Monday night, we'll make sure we advertise it good, big time for that too. So September 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay. I have to look at a calendar. On that note, Davey, how about a thank you video? We need to thank everybody.
The Captain's Quarters podcast is indeed a ship sailing the seas of the world, always in search of history, knowledge, and adventure. It takes a crew to run a ship, so we take this opportunity to thank those who help keep this ship afloat.
The cast and crew: Captain William Mayhem, Navigator Davy Longwood, Gunner Hellfire Henley, Cartographer Mandy Joe, the Powder Monkey, and Juan Cam.
Helping others gives a crew purpose. Our treasured charities that we support: Inc., investing in kids; the Humane Society of St. Johns County; Alia's Acres, a no-kill animal rescue zone; and the Cadets of the St. Johns County Fire Department. The 4 major charities that we support, but there's always room for more.
You too can be part of the crew and support the show in many ways. Go to Patreon. A small monthly contribution as Powder Monkey or First Mate memberships, or a single contribution. PayPal or Venmo. Go to YouTube. Hit the like and follow buttons to join our ranks and support the show. It does take a crew. Thank you.
Very good, Davey. Very good. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we can't have, oh, Davey is ahead of me there, the platforms. YouTube every Monday night. Once it downloads to Spotify and Instagram at the end of the show, or you can catch us in audio format at Stitcher, iHeart, CastBox, Apple Podcast, and Music Amazon. So that is 5, 6, 7 platforms that you can catch us. If you can't catch us on one of those, well, you're not trying hard enough. Our numbers, are they good? Have they improved? Are they getting better?
I think so.
They're going up.
Those are
Ooh,
good.
they have gone up, especially the Apple one.
Yeah, and we're not far off from
Oh, I know. The special number. It just sounds
1,600.
piratey.
Almost, we're only six away from 1,600.
Yes, and that sounds piratey.
Yeah, I like that. 1,600. Very good. I see Captain Morrow is on. Thank you, mates, for watching the show there, Captain Morrow. We appreciate you being a part of the show. I have something special I want to ask you about Old City Pirate Fest in February. I'll be sending out an email to you sometime in the next week. On that note, I can't think of anything else. Have I missed anything tonight? I think we got it pretty good. It was a good show.
Yeah, we went longer than we thought.
A little bit longer, but not as long as it could have been.
True.
I mean, we've had some shows that I think our longest show is 2.5 hours.
Yep.
But we're thankful for those that stay with us. And I think we're trying to work out a way that we can keep this to a 60 to 90 minute show from now on. It'll work out a little better. We're a little over that 90 minutes by 3 minutes, but we reached the end anyway. So 3 minutes. Oh, well. It's been fun having you. You can catch us next Monday night. But as we always like to sign out with the proper words, let's do it, Davey.
Part of the podcast.
Part of the crew.
Always, we can't do it without you. It requires a crew. We could just do it, but it would just be the 3 of us, and that's not much fun. So tune in to us every Monday night at 8 o'clock, St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in the nation, on Captain's Quarters Podcast on YouTube. We look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be talking about the oldest city in the nation, St. Augustine, Florida, 459 years. Upon that note, safe sails.
Of history's embrace.